What a difference 1 point can make. 39 points down in that third quarter, 29 points down at three-quarter time. A remarkable comeback. What a rollercoaster season Carlton have had. Mickey Malthouse joins us as our guest tonight. Did you know exactly what was going on the scoreboard late in that match?
No, I don't really. I don't worry about the score. Oh, well, I have to worry about it. But I thought we were only 4 points up, and when they kicked their last goal, I thought, this is going to be a long way back because chasing 2 points and they'll get people going. I thought, it's strange, they're not putting their players behind able to score where we're still in front. So, oh well, all's well that ends well.
Mick, someone that stood up was your captain, Mark Murphy. We did a little piece on him last week on Talking Footy. The fact that after he's come back from his injury to his jaw, probably hasn't been at his best. And I think it was 3 or 4 weeks ago that you actually questioned that he just had to work harder to break tags. He was sensational in the last quarter. Yeah,
I think Mark is making progress every week. He had a very interrupted pre-season, and any player that's played the game knows that you've got to have a good pre-season. On top of an interrupted pre-season, he gets the captaincy.
I was going to say, do you think that's weighing on him? It's weighing on him
I think it probably did early. I think he was trying to be a lot for everyone, all for everything, and then as his form deteriorated, there was a real purple patch. He got back, he felt strong in the legs and he broke his jaw. Yeah. So then he was out for a couple of weeks and bravely got back. I think we only missed one because of the bye. I think he's making fantastic strides as a captain. It wasn't going to happen overnight with Mark because he's a quiet type, but he leads with his from the front. He's a very brave young man. He's a articulate player, a person in front of his teammates, and he just wants to be captain of the club. So there's some good ingredients there.
Yep. Mick, you got 39 points down, and I was at the MCG doing the Essendon and Richmond game, and there was a highlight that came through. It was a low light, I think, in terms of defence, and I'm sure you remember this one. I remember looking at the score, 71-38, glancing at the screen and thinking, oh, Carlton are gone, they're in all sorts of trouble, and I just couldn't believe this was almost like a situation of training where you're mucking around kicking a goal, and Westhoff just cruises in. There's no Carlton player switched on. And you thought, how can you possibly come back from that? It must have been concerning at that stage.
We had a look at that this morning, and that was one of the... We dissected the game, but that was something that we're not very proud of that at all. And that's everyone. It's not a matter of just looking at, say, Walker on the mark or Simpson in front of him. It was one of those things where people just switch straight off. They expect him to kick the goal instead of following the ball and watching players around him. Not a good point, but I think from that... It's interesting that you can learn so much from something that takes your eyes off it, and you think. And I reckon when the ball went back to the centre, there was a real line in the sand drawn and say, well, look, we've really committed one of those greatest errors that you do in football. So perhaps we grew a little bit from that.
Mick, that little grab after the game where you saw your president, Stephen Kernahan, was that... Do you remember what you said? It looked like something like, I've got my finals bonus.
No, I said happy birthday. Oh, no, it was his 50th.
I was trying to read your lips.
It was his 50th, and right. Stephen loves a beer, so I said to him, you'll be able to enjoy that beer tonight. And we've won 4 out of 5 on the road, and he travels all the time with us, and he's heart and soul's with us, and he's a terrific president. He's there. He's played the game. He steps away, and in the rooms, win, lose or draw, and he doesn't get caught up in it. But I went to him purposely because it's his birthday, and I thought he's been under a bit of pressure, and I reckon at half-time he would have been worse than what I was. So.
That's probably the same as Eddie then. He doesn't get involved.
No. Very similar. Very similar.
I reckon if you had a beer at half-time, you'd have trouble knowing which team was which after half-time because these Guernseys were just so similar. Andrew, what's going on here? I mean, how could you tell the difference?
Oh, look, it was just a complete stuff-up, Bruce. So then I walked in today and I asked Mark Evans at our executive meeting what happened, and he just said we got it wrong. We made a mistake, and it was terrible. It was almost like watching like a Super 15s match where they've always got clashes. I mean...
So you're having a dig at rugby tonight. Yeah. Did the players... Did you feel like it made a difference to where they were?
No, none of the players complained. They have in the past. The umpires and the runners are almost the same colour or whatever. No, there's no... And I didn't see any instance where a player gave the ball off to someone else, where it has happened in the past and this year.
Yeah, we actually spoke to Ken Hinkley yesterday, and he actually thought players were giving it to the opposition players a couple of times, especially early. He told them, apparently he said to them at quarter time, look at the shorts. Don't worry about the jumper, just look at the shorts.
Yeah, I didn't take that far.
Yeah. Mick, I know you had a big birthday this year. We're the same age, but you're in a much more stressful job than I am. I mean, I've seen you this year, and I'm worried about you, Mick. I mean, these coaches... I mean, this is a tough gig. I mean, how's your health?
The health is absolutely perfect. Oh, the hand has copped a little bit of a bashing this year. No, it's I enjoy that that part of the game. I just think I've been doing it long enough, and it's never really affected my health. So I just love the involvement, and I love to see sides grow and see young men. You talk about Murphy. I love to see him grow as a captain. And you got, this year we've played Menzel and we've played Casey and young Graham. So there's 3 young players that won't forget this year, regardless of the results. All young players. They don't care whether they win, lose or draw. Really, they just want to get that notch on the belt to say I've played. And they're the great things about football.
Those press conferences you do where you get angry, is that theatre or is that you just spotting a couple of journos in the room you don't like?
I like all journos, but I don't like all their questions.
I don't like all their questions. Good answer.
I love it when guys in the box, working for Triple M, and they have to send someone down and they say Carlton rooms, and no one wants to go in there.
What have you done to our mate Richo this year?
Isn't he a beautiful man?
He's getting counselling after going down talking to you. You've upset him so much.
He's a wonderful man. And Duck, you've worked with me. You know how easy it is.
No, yeah, you're lovely.
But Mickey, maybe Essendon don't think you're lucky because you had a bit to say about Essendon, didn't you? I mean...
Oh, well, if I have, maybe I've said things that need to be said for people in general. I mean, what have I said, Bruce? Outside of the fact that I've put some heat on the league to say I just reckon that they've got to get it right, that this is about governance, and the end result is the governance stood up, has made great decisions and made decisions at the right time. If Essendon have done the right thing, that wouldn't have happened. If they've done the wrong thing, well, they've got their sanctions.
Are the sanctions fair, Mick? Do you think that Andrew's got it right or not?
Anyone can argue the sanctions. I mean, if you wanted to pick things apart, you can do that. But it takes brave people to make brave decisions. And this is the first time a side has been excluded from finals by playing enough games. That says a fair bit about it. And not get caught up in, and this is what I'm not here to pump him up, but not be subjected to who says what on the papers and then react to the papers. It's about getting it right and then determining their time. Not what the papers want, or not what someone in the papers want to get, because it's a feel-good. And the greatest thing about this is that people, and this is not all journos, they can't wait to nail someone, and when they get nailed and they get sacked, like Mark Neal, oh, poor Mark Neal, and what's he going to do with his life and so forth? They are the blokes that got him out of the joint in the first place. So I've got no sympathy for the papers, let me tell you.
In fairness to Mick, Bruce, he only said what a lot of people were thinking, and it was the same thing that. When we met the 17 other clubs, it was endorsed by the club presidents. I mean, they wanted the AFL and the league to deal with the situation and not to be taken outside of the league. And I mean, I think Mick was only speaking for a lot of people who didn't want to say a lot of things often. But I'm not critical of Mick.
How's your list, Mick? How savage are you going to be in a few weeks' time when it's all over for the season? How many are you getting rid of?
That's a very interesting question, Bruce, because everyone must think I'm the only coach that's going to cut the list. I made reference to the list during the year. I will guarantee every club cuts the list. The AFL have given us a little scope there to say it's got to be 3, and that's where everyone knows that, and it can go from 3. The premiership year that I coached Collingwood, we made 12. So if you can make 12 as a premiership side, you've got every right to make 12 if you don't win a premiership. So I'm not saying there's 12, but it's just a fact. You've just got to keep turning it over until you get the list you want, and the boys know it. It's not as if... And I hate the word you cut, because they are genuine young players who have got a great dream, and that is to play league football, and you take that away from them. All I say is we have difference of opinion of the value to the player to that club, and that will happen, and there's going to be a number of players, and that's just a fact of life.
Mick, would Dale Thomas fit nicely into your list? Is that a chance to happen?
Any of those free agents would be very welcome.
Any worry about his ankle?
Oh, not that... Well, if I read the papers right, it doesn't appear so.
Mick, are you where you thought you would be when you started? I mean, you obviously had some expectations, and you probably thought you'd be at a certain stage on the ladder at the end of the year. Are you where you thought you would?
Yeah, the list is... I thought, looking at the side last year, and to the value of Channel 7, working through the year, I was able to watch a lot of sides many times from playing bottom sides, top sides. I didn't think, realistically, Carlton were any more than what they finished last year. And this year we've been able to build the list a little bit with 3 new players entering into it, with row 4, and cement a new leadership group. And make the finals. Yep. The finals, we finished 8th, and we intend to go and do some damage in the finals. So we're roughly where I thought we'd be.
We're a bit amigo-centric, I know, but Garlett and Betts and Yaron talk a lot about those, and they've had their ups and downs this year. Garlett's had a good year, but Betts not great, and Yaron's been subbed a few times and didn't react great one night and sort of has come back a bit.
Yeah. Eddie broke his jaw, got back, got suspended, hasn't had the year.
I think Adelaide are keen on him.
Oh, I think a lot of teams would be keen on him. He had a terrific night on Saturday night, make no mistake about that. Chris Yaron had an indifferent patch and it's no penalty to be. Every week there's 2 per game subs. So someone's got to take that role, and people just hate it. You know, I hate it, but someone's got to fill that jacket. And his body language, as we spoke about, was not good. He's learnt and was apologetic and come back. No damage done, and he's a better player for it.
The Kings can help you out now, Mick. He's going to take the pressure off you and pick the side for you.
Well, knowing you, Mick, if a guy looks like he might be the next year, he might win you over in the final. So we've had a little bit of a look at who might come in this week. So don't be too harsh on me.
No, you've been a select before.
But I think Chris Judd might come back in if he's fit. Scotland, McLean, and also Keisha I've picked to come back into the side, and I've got McInnes, Dygan, Bell and Ellard missing out. Am I far off the mark?
Well, if you've got 4 coming in, Duck, there's a fair chance that 4 have got to go out.
Yeah,
we're not allowed to have 23 players.
Very good. But those 4, obviously 3 pick themselves if they're fit. Judd, Scotland, McLean. But Keisha, good chance to come in.
Well, horses for courses team, and that will always remain the same. We value the opposition, we respect the opposition, we see their strengths, and then we go through our list and say, OK, what can we do about their strengths? If their strengths need Acacia, we'll pick him. If it needs a bit more pace and Juddy's available, clearly he'll come into consideration. Ball getting powered by the other 2, it looks good, but the 4 out, no, probably none of them.
None of them out?
Well, I don't know. We haven't had match committee yet, but you're being very harsh.
You just send us around.
He put us in front. He was as hard as a cat's head.
Dygan's played 3 games this year.
What happened to Nick Dygan? Mick was talked about as a leader.
He's one of our leaders.
Yeah. Why did he only play 3 games?
Well, you don't have to be on the ground to be a leader. And leadership should never be valued on how good you are as a footballer. It should be valued on how good you are as a leader. The club needed a good leadership group. He is certainly part of that leadership group. Been very good. As far as getting games going, no, we picked a side after his first game wasn't exactly the way we wanted it. We brought the side in together. I was trying to strengthen the back line up, put Walker and Simpson back there. They've proved to be very, very valuable players. Tui has exceeded expectations accordingly to others around the club. Touch wood, we've had Michael Jamieson up there and Henderson and Waite from various times and Rowe. So the back line's looked after itself. So we haven't found a position for him.
Pick up the Richmond side for us, because Mick will be interested.
Well, I think it's going to be hard. There's going to be changes, I think, for both sides. And I think coming back in has to be Chris Newman, Shane Tuck. Unfortunately, and it breaks my heart to do this, Andrew. I know you're a big fan of Tucky's, but he's been the sub for the last 4 weeks. Jack Revolt clearly comes back, and Shane Edwards in their best 18 players. So White and Stephenson, I don't think they'll go the extra big ruck with Mick. I think they might just get Ty Vickery to do the ruck work, and 3 changes for Richmond for me.
Well, if you bring Rewald in, and Tall would logically have to go out. Does not that you've been on a match committee too often, but you're probably without picking Richmond's side. I think you're relatively close. I'd
Thanks,
say.
Mick. Yeah.
How many people could we expect on Sunday at the MCG?
Ticket sales are extraordinary today, Bruce. There's about 360 tickets left to be sold. When we overlay the MCC members and AFL members, we're looking at 85 to 90,000.
Have Carlton responded as well as Richmond so far in terms of ticket sales?
No, actually, it's interesting. The breakup of memberships sold. About nearly 20,000 Richmond members have bought tickets, and half of those have been Carlton members who have bought tickets.
You're impressed by a young kid from Richmond called Brandon Ellis. He has been sensational off half-back. He's a player that you'll have to keep an eye on, Mick.
Yeah, he played very well against us in the first half last 3 rounds ago. He's highly... I think he's one of the early picked players and uses the ball beautifully. You can see there with his hands, but he's also a fantastic kick. So, if he was the only one not to worry about, it wouldn't be too bad. But they've got a dozen of those blokes.
Michael, thank you for coming in.
It's been a pleasure, Bruce.
Yeah, no, great to see you back here, and good luck on the weekend. It's going to be one big match. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah, I bet you are. You can't wait to get there like we can't. What a weekend of finals footy we've got coming up.